Have you ever met anyone who could fart on command? I actually met someone like that yesterday. And she was about, say, 15, 20 steps away from me in school courtyard. And when she saw me, because she knows me, she starts walking towards me. And then every step that she takes is like, prr, prr. And I was like, okay, first I thought maybe I'm imagining things. I have issues. I've been known to imagine things. But then literally as she got closer to me, I could hear it louder. Prr. For every step, I could hear a purr, purr, purr. And then when she came and stood next to me, she did a double purr. So purr, purr. So I assume naturally, because why else would I assume anything else? I assumed that that was my cue to start talking. And then I start talking, and I assumed that since I've started talking, she would stop doing the tooting thing. But she still continued because I was talking and then she was shuffling. And every time she would shuffle, there would be another purr. And I was like, does she see it? Or am I imagining it? Because obviously the first thing you do in such a situation is second guess yourself. And the next thing you do is you blame yourself. So I was like, okay, is that because she doesn't like me? Because not many people do. Or is it because she doesn't want to talk to me and she wants to, but then I was like, she just walked towards me. I didn't ask her to. I never ask people to walk towards me ever. I try not to make eye contact with people in public because then they want to smile back and start talking, and that's never a good idea. But I did not get it. And then she saw someone else and she turned to her and she did her purring again. Purr, purr. And then I realized that it wasn't her fart. It was the shoe that she was wearing. But those 30, 45 seconds, they were not only the most exciting 35, 40 seconds of my entire week, but they were also the most confusing because I wasn't sure what was going on. And I was in this victim mode. It's like, does anyone else see it? But she should definitely get new shoes because now I just told her secret and her story to everyone on the internet. So yeah, dude, just get new shoes. Good thing is she doesn't know I do things on the internet. Okay, so what was that? What did I just do? I told you a story that happened for real, by the way. And the mental process that I went through was also for real. But I just told you a story which if I had told without all of these elements that I used in this particular story, it wouldn't have been funny. Now, I'm assuming it was funny because in my head it was really funny. So you better laugh, right? And if you're laughing, then please share a few of those laughy faces in the comments so that I know that not only do you hear and appreciate the joke, you also laughed. And then I would give you a breakdown of the tactics that I used in this very story so you can start using them again. I am not a stand-up comic at all by any stretch of the imagination, but I study them and I kind of want to be one when I grow up. So really the idea behind doing this, sharing that story and starting with that story is because I wanted to do a session where I could actually show you the principles and then give you a breakdown instead of doing it the other way around. So if you enjoyed this joke, please tell me you did, because that would totally break my heart if you didn't. In hindsight, I should have thought that if after so many farts, the courtyard should have been smelling like acid. It should have smelled nuclear, but there wasn't any smell. So I probably should have thought. But then, there are those empty shots as well, right? Where you fart and there isn't any smell. Okay, we're going to stop talking about farting. Let me know that you found this joke funny so I can give you a breakdown. Please tell me it's funny. And I will share this broadcast with someone as well. And if you enjoyed this, please share this broadcast with someone who is looking to get those secrets that stand-up comics use to get the laughs every single time. If you're a good stand-up comic, that is. Okay. Sharing. Okay, people, yes. Okay, good. Oh, okay, so there are a few laughs. Yeah. Okay, yeah, there are a few laughs. So we got some laughs. Yay. There will also be people who will call me disgusting, but I'm hoping they will not let me know in the comments on a public forum. Thank you. Okay. Let's talk about the breakdown. So what happened with that story? It wasn't a groundbreaking joke. There weren't any big, massive punchlines. It was just a story. And I'm sure you have lots of those stories that you come across in your life as well. They're not terribly funny. It's just the way you tell those stories that is funny. And that is really the first thing that you need to know. Your joke does not need to be world class. You don't need to have a joke writer who should write something and that it should be so... paint a scenario. We're not actors. We're not even stand-up comics. We are business owners who are looking to infuse more humor, more personality in our presentations so that they are more entertaining. So people stick around more or leave because they are disgusted. Sorry. Either way, We want to learn from the stand-up comics, but we don't want to be a stand-up comic. So one thing you need to know out right now is that you don't need a groundbreaking joke. You don't need a well-written, well-rehearsed, well-practiced, never heard before joke. No, you don't need to. It's just the way you embed that, weave that joke into your story, into your presentation is what matters most. So the very first principles, the very first trick that stand-up comics use and that we can also use in our business is called the expectancy violation theory. And what is an expectancy violation theory? An expectancy violation theory is what I also like to call in my teachings. If you've been following me for a while, that you know that I'm a huge fan of using disruption. So an expectancy violation theory is something similar. When people are expecting you to say something or do something or finish a sentence or finish a joke a certain way and you don't do it, it is always funny. So in this particular presentation, I've been doing so many days. I've almost I don't even know how many days I've done of 30 days of persuasion. And every day either started with an introduction of who I am, or it started with me explaining what I'm going to be covering this day's video. That was the standard expectancy that people had when they tuned on to a day of 30 days of persuasion, but not today. I violated that expectation. And that is why it became interesting. That is why it became more entertaining and more intriguing, and people decided to stick around, hopefully, yeah. So expectancy violation theory is anything that violates the expectations that your audience has or people who are watching you have about your content. So I'm going to give you two examples of kind of lame-ass jokes, but because they employ the expectancy violation theory, they work really well. So one joke is, the best way to a man's heart is through his stomach, which is a standard line. You've heard this before. And if you give a small pause, which I'm going to be talking about the pause, and what's beneath it or what's under it, right? So it's it might seem to you like it's a lame joke, but because it uses expectancy violation theory, it gets a few hesitant laughs. Also, that pause that I just talked about, I'm going to expand a bit more on that pause. Just before you violate their expectation, that pause it's a beautiful thing. It gets the laugh. So another example of this is a very interesting joke or a story, and you can use it in any sense. So for example, I pulled that from somewhere on the internet. It says, it's raining for the third day in a row. My husband looks really depressed. He keeps staring out the window. If the rain doesn't stop tomorrow, so everything is fine till now. If the rain doesn't stop tomorrow, I'll have to let him in, right? So this is an expectancy violation. And it's funny because people are not expecting the husband to be standing outside in the rain, right? They are expecting the husband to be inside, watching depressed as he looks out at the rain or whatever. So it could be considered as a crude joke. I'm not talking about the quality of the joke, so please let's not talk about the quality of the joke or whether it's cruel or not. The point that I'm trying to make is that it violates expectation, and that is how it becomes funny. So a lot of those jokes that you see, all those big, giant name stand-up comics use, they're nothing more than expectancy violation. They're just using a story, and then right as the story becomes interesting and you become invested in the story, it pivots into something completely absurd and unexpected. That is why it works. So the first rule is expectancy violation theory that you can use for anything. You're telling a story, you're getting people, they expect you to say a certain thing, they expect you to start something a certain way, they expect you to do things a certain way, and then you would go on and do something absurd. You violate the expectation. Number two, which I hinted at before, is the space. Right? So right before you violate their expectations, right before you give the punchline, or even while you're telling the joke, you need to give space in between your story that allows people the time to laugh. Right? And the way I would do this, and the way that I just did this, and you can go back and watch the story that I was telling it, the way I like to do it is I like to sit back with you're not laughing at your own joke. You're just giving a small space, very like 1, 2 beats, and you're sitting there with a confused look. This means that you are as invested in the story as the other person is. So the person who's watching it, they will look at that space and they will think, oh, okay, she's as confused as. So going back to the story, I said something like, so I was like, does she hate me? Does she not want to talk to me? So these small spaces, it allows people to laugh. Give them that space to laugh. If you bulldoze through and don't give them a space to laugh, then they won't laugh. right? So whatever you're telling, again, going back to the same story, the best way, same line, the best way to a man's heart is through his stomach and what's under it, right? So that small beat of 1 to 2 beats, it really allows that, give that space to allow people to laugh. So whatever you're doing, whatever joke you're telling, whatever story you're telling, right before the punchline, give a space. Because if you don't and you barrel on, so a lot of the novice comic stand-up comics, the biggest mistake that they make is that they barrel on. They tell a joke and they barrel on. They don't stop. They don't give the space for people to laugh. And I want you to go watch any of the big stand-up comics that you follow, and you will see that. Robin Williams did this beautifully. C.K. Lewis just does this beautifully. You will see them. George Carlin, one of my favorites, he does this beautifully. There is that space. Even though he's a super fast talker, he would still give that space right before the punchline. Doesn't barrel on. Okay, number 3, which I've talked before, is live the character. So when you're telling the story, don't just tell the story, instead live the character. Show some exaggeration with your accents, your gestures, the faces that you make. So the story I was telling you, I actually made out the sound of the part itself. It was very uncomfortable, just so you know. But I did, and then the step, and then a step, and then I'm thinking to myself, and then I'm moving, and then she's shoveling, right? So she's shuffling her feet. So I'm living the character. Don't just tell a story from an outside perspective. Instead, get into the story and live it. If there are accents, if there are gestures, if there are movements, anything at all, you need to use your hands and your face and your gestures and your accent and your tone and your tonality to live that character. Again, the best person to do that is, there aren't a lot of videos of Robin Williams do stand-up, but go watch him. It's nothing, honestly, it's a simple story, but just the fact that he embodies the role, the character that he is talking about, it just changes the dynamic, and it becomes hilarious and entertaining and endearing in a nice, funny, but also compassionate kind of, I don't know if the compassionate is the right word, but it's very endearing. Let's just say this. It's very sweet to watch, because he's not just telling a story, he's living the character. Rule number 4 is space out your jokes. So if you have 2, 3, 4 jokes that you want to tell, let's just say on a webinar that's 1 hour long, and you have those 3 or 4 jokes that you want to tell, space them out. Don't just tell one joke after the other. So if I was to, and I don't want to have a hard and fast rule to this, but if I'm doing a 1 hour long webinar and I have 3 jokes, I would do 1 joke at the start, and then 1 joke in the middle, and then 1 joke towards the end. So space it out. Not only does it give people time to process the joke, savor the joke, enjoy the joke, engage their brains fully, decide if they enjoyed the joke, and decide if they enjoy you, but also create anticipation for the next joke. If you kind of just 3, 4 jokes right out the gate, basically you have emptied the MO, and now people are not even sure what joke they should laugh at, whether they like that joke or not. They haven't really decided. They haven't taken the time to savor the joke. They haven't taken the time to engage with the joke. And then most importantly, you run out of jokes, right? They don't have anything to look forward to. And they don't know that, yeah. They don't know whether you've run out of joke. But if they don't hear a joke for the next 45 minutes, they'll be like, what am I doing here? Why am I even here? No, they won't say that, but you know what I mean? They won't say that, but that's what they will think. You know, I came here because I thought it was interesting and entertaining, and I was loving it, and my brain was engaged, and I was savoring the joke. And then she just went into a pitch and never made me laugh again. What the hell are you doing, lady? Why aren't you making me laugh? So space out your jokes, give their brains time to savor it, give their brains time to engage with the joke, and decide if they enjoy you and they like you. Because if they know that they will get a nice sprinkling of joke and humor and edutainment throughout your session, then they will stick around. I promise. I know it, because people do for me. Yay! Okay, so this was my session for today. Oh no, there's a last one. So the fifth topic has nothing to do with the story that I told in the beginning, but if a joke works, if it gets the laughs, if people say, oh my God, you're hilarious. Oh my God, it was so funny. I was rolling over laughing, ROTFL, rolling on the floor. So I have a question here. We don't normally, when we use an abbreviation, we don't normally use the. Then why do we use the T in rolling on the floor laughing? Shouldn't it just be rolling on floor laughing? Because we don't normally put T when we're trying to abbreviate it, right? That's a legit question, by the way. And that question was plaguing me for ages. And I'm really glad I finally had a chance to ask that question. But anyhow, If you know that people are laughing and they're telling you you're funny, or they are sharing it, or they're leaving a comment, then you know that that joke works. If you know that a joke works, then keep using it over and over again. So I have 2 jokes that stopped working for me 2 years ago. This stopped working for me. Even when I'm telling those jokes, I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing? It's such a lame joke. But the problem is that people don't find it lame. They've started associating those jokes with my brand of humor. They've also found it really funny, and they like to use it. So even though I don't find it funny, the fact is that those jokes work, and that's why I do it over and over again. And that's what successful stand-up comics do. Before you hear a good big celebrity stand-up comic share a joke on the stage that you see, he or she has probably told that joke 22 times in many different settings, perfected it. He or she knows that it works, gets the laughs, and only then you will see it on TV or on a movie. So if a joke works, if it gets the laughs, if a story works, if anything that you say, if an anecdote works, if an embarrassing situation works, keep using it. And if, for example, you said something in real life and people actually laughed about it, write it down and use it in your webinars and in your business, because human beings are the same, whether they are behind the screen or in front of the screen. It's just that those who are behind the screen are a little bit meaner because they think we cannot get inside the screen. Dude, that day is coming. So all of those haters and trolls, that day is coming when we will be able to crawl inside the screen and show you our faces. So you cannot troll us anymore. That day is coming. I've been told, or I have prayed. Either way, that day is coming. Okay, so if you enjoyed this session, please let me know that you did, because that makes my day. And also share this with someone, because this is not a standard humor class. This is not a stand-up, how to be a stand-up comic. I don't even know how to be a stand-up comic. If I did, I would be a stand-up comic. I don't even like you guys. I would rather be a stand-up comic. No, not really. I love you guys. But really, this is a class on how to take lessons from stand-up comics and use them in your business so that your sessions are more entertaining. And I think it was a pretty dang awesome session. So if you enjoyed it, please share it with someone, because that makes my day. And also go buy my book. So there is an international best-selling book that I wrote. It's called Mass Persuasion Method. It talks about the 8 psychological switches that all need to be activated in the human brain if you want people to say yes to you and to your products and to your services, and basically turn you into a persuasion powerhouse. And one of those switches, which is called the edutainment switch, you just heard one small sliver of the wisdom that's inside the book when it comes to edutainment. Because again, our brains crave that intellectual stimulation. We crave entertainment. So if you are educating people but not entertaining them, you are missing out. So if you want to learn more about edutainment and all the other 7 persuasion switches that all need to be activated for someone to say yes to you, your product, or your services, then you should go check out my book. It's at bit.ly/mpmbook. I will also leave the link. And once you buy the book, once you buy the paperback, you also get to claim not $200, $800 worth of bonuses that you get for absolutely free. So go check it out, and I will see you tomorrow with another session of the 30 Days of Persuasion. Don't forget to share it, because I'm watching you, or I'll come for it on command. Hey, YouTube, you enjoyed this session. I know it. I can see it in your face that you enjoyed this session. So if you enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up, or subscribe, or buy my book, or send me love, or leave a nice comment, or do anything that makes me feel better, really. But really, I hope you enjoyed this session, and I will see you tomorrow with another one. Bye-bye.